Alright, so you are here probably because you want to swap your G8. You want to make it from automatic to a manual. Well, I made another video on this, kind of like summarizing it to an extent, but in this video I'm going to break down everything to try to make it as easy as possible. And you guys have been asking some questions, and I have the questions wrote down right here. So I have a piece of paper to remember what to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, we'll go with the pedals. The pedals you want to get are, I got them both off eBay. They're from a 2010, 2011, 2012 5th gen Camaro. They bolt straight up to the factory location. There's you will look up in the dash and you'll see there's two mounting holes for that. And then you want to mount it to the brake booster as well. So, but to do that, you're gonna need to drill a hole. So once you get make sure once you get the pedals, you mock them up, trace your hole, drill it, and then take a Dremel and massage it, because it has to have like a, it's kind of shaped like this almost. So once you do that, you're ready for your master cylinder to go through it, or it goes through it without any problems or nothing. And once you get the pedals in, you can do the clutch pedal and the brake pedal, because you could cut the brake pedal, the stock one, down if you want, but I mean, I just found it easier and it looks cleaner if you use the pedals that came from both. So a skinny brake pedal and a clutch pedal. That's not a hard job to do, but you gotta lay on your back. So I recommend before you take the battery off and everything like that, you push the seat all the way back so you have room to lay. Shifter. You could order one if you can find one on eBay, or if you have a source in Australia, you can call like a junkyard or somebody, or find them on Facebook or something to get a shifter from a VE Commodore. So the 2006 to 2012 VE Commodore. All you do is you unbolt the automatic shifter. Don't cut nothing, because that plug for automatic shifter is going to come in handy later on once you're working on finishing and getting everything done. So once the automatic shifter is out, you put the shifter into the top. Bumblebee. You put the shifter into the top and you get under it and you mount it up. So that's going to kind of like sandwich. So it's going to be the shifter goes in the top, you got a metal piece that comes from the bottom, and then you're going to bolt it through the floor. It's going to go in the same holes as the automatic did. So you don't have to drill no holes, you don't have to cut no holes. All you do is take that automatic shifter out, and boom, there's your hole for your 6-speed. And once that is done, you're ready to put the trans in. Transmission. Alright, so there's two ways you can go about doing this. Number one, you can get one out of a GXP, which is an LS3 car, which is also super hard to come by. Or you can get one out of a 5th gen Camaro. The 5th gen Camaro will bolt up, it will do everything like it should. But before you put that transmission in, make sure you get a pilot bearing. The pilot bearing is from just ordered from the 5th gen Camaro and put it to your stock flywheel, or not stock flywheel, but the flywheel you get with your clutch. Super easy. These are actually easier to do than the F bodies, because the pilot bearings mount to the flywheel instead of in the crank, so it's a whole lot easier. Make sure you put your anti-seize on that pilot bearing first, and make sure everything lines up first. And do not pull the transmission in with the bolts. Since this has a bell housing, the TR6060 has a bell housing that doesn't detach, so you can't put the bell housing on first, then the trans. You gotta make sure you line it up perfectly, and you probably want 2 or 3 people there to help, unless you put it in when the engine's out of the car, which Probably would have been easier for me to do on this, but you know, I was rushing. So the transmission from a Camaro is going to be half an inch longer, give or take. So that was one of the questions from W. Wiseman. Are the Camaro TR6060s longer? Yes, they are longer, and you're going to have fun with the crossmember. But another buddy of mine who's done this swap used the crossmember from a Chevy SS, which is still holding. It's just a different generation of G8. So you get one of those, you can still get them. I'll find the part number and I'll post it up here. But get that. That should work. I used the stock one and got the TR Turbo 400 mount and just cut around it, and it looks really blotchy. It's not staying like that. But that was just to get it moving so I can get this car out of the garage and, you know, work out all the other bugs. But the crossmember was probably one of the biggest pains in my butt to deal with on this. Driveshaft. It's another issue. So what I have on here now is the back half of the stock G8 driveshaft, the front half of a Camaro driveshaft, and the piece that connects them to, I cut the G8 one off, welded it to the Camaro one. Do not recommend doing that. The only reason why I did that is, one, to move the car out of here. Because the Camaro one was the identical length, but instead of using the whole Camaro two-piece, I had to take them apart and make one. The driveshaft I'm going with is the Driveshaft Shop Camaro one-piece driveshaft. Yes, I would love to, and if you have a local driveshaft shop and they'll make you a two-piece, I would recommend doing that because that would be cheaper. But my driveshaft shop wouldn't touch this. For some reason, they would not touch it. So, with that note, driveshaft, you can do whatever you want to do, but just make sure it's done correctly, balanced. Make sure your carrier bearing's right. I'm not have to worry about carrier bearing. I'm gonna buy one driveshaft only, and be done with it. But the driveshaft, and from the rubber piece measured out 57 inches. So make sure, do not take my word on it. Get your butt under that car once you have the trans in. The driveshaft cannot be measured unless the transmission's in. Measure it yourself. So make sure you get the right driveshaft, to make sure you do everything the right way and not have to worry about any kind of mess ups. The driveshaft, the crossmember, has been probably the biggest pains in my butt with doing this whole situation. So next is computer/tune. To make everything work like it should, you're going to flash the BCM to make the gauges work, obviously. So I have not done that yet, but I'm going to be doing that once the car moves and I get everything done. Because I can just put the car on the yard now. But you're going to have to get a tune from a Holden or a tune from a GXP. You got to make sure they're right operating serial numbers. That's very important. And once you get a harness, a tune for it, you got to overwrite your tune. So you got to completely overwrite the PCM, make it think it's a manual. Make it think it's a manual. And then if you have a current tune on it, just have your tuner, or if you tune yourself, just copy the tune over. It's really easy. And also, if you don't want the clutch, the skip shift, you can tune that out as well. But make sure you get a tune from a manual PCM. You cannot just turn it off manual. You cannot, on the automatic side of it, you cannot just swap it. For an HP tuners, you can have automatic or manual options. You cannot do that with this. It will not work the same. That's what made the brake lights work and everything, to swap the tune completely over to manual tune. So now the car believes it's a manual car. I can unlock it, lock it, unlock it, everything. My speedometer works, all that jazz. just from the tube. Alright, now we're on the wiring harness. I wanted this to work exactly like it should from the factory, like this car came from Holden with a manual in it. So I have friends in Australia who are currently in America. They just stayed with me for 2 weeks. Love y'all. You need to get you a wiring harness out of a GXP, out of a VE Commodore, which that's what I have. I have one from a VE Commodore in here. Came out of a car from Australia. I highly recommend doing that before blotching up harnesses. There's ways to make the reverse lights work with the stock harness and your speedometer working and everything. There's ways to do it. There's a form, a very vague form on the subject on how to do it. But I recommend just trying to find the right harness to do this because it plugged into everything. The PCM's on the same side in Australia. Everything's on the same side. Like everything, they didn't change nothing with the harness. My reverse lights work, my speedometer works, everything plugs into the TR6060. No issues. And don't be an idiot and forget to put your headlight harness back in after all this is done, because that's not fun. So yeah, that's the wiring harness. That's with the automatic thing, with the plug that comes off the automatic, that's gonna come back to this. You don't want to jump over 2 spots after you unplug that so you can get your key out, because God forbid you lock your key in a car and you can't get it open unless you get like a locksmith out here or something. So I can't remember which one it was, but you can just touch 2 wires across and you'll hear the locking still undo itself. Then you can go and get your key out. So don't cut that harness for the automatic. Leave that in there. It's going to do nothing but no harm to you at all. So just leave it in there and just have it that. Clutch. I made this one a topic on its own. You can use whatever clutch you want as long as it works for an LS3, LS2 Camaro clutch. So pretty much any 5th gen Camaro clutch would work. I went with the stock clutch for now, just to make sure just to get the swap done, because my time and my resources are very thin with how I work. So I went with a stock 5th gen Camaro clutch and it works. The whole car moves, everything moves like it should. So clutch is simple. Make sure you get a flex plate to match the clutch and just get your clutch and everything done with that. And that was the last part of that. So alright, so now I'm gonna go, that was all key points. I hope I answered everything. Like, if you're having an issue with something, I hope this video helps you. So now I'm gonna go to questions. I already answered the TR6060 is longer. The issues with the cross member, you're gonna go with the cross members for the SS, and there's other 2 little pieces that go along with that, but I'll post up the links. Joseph Hansen asked, can the trans be swapped with the engine in? Yes, I mean, it's just as easy with the engine in as it is without. The G8s have plenty of room to do anything, so like these are my favorite cars to work on. Like my WS6, it's kind of a pain in the ass to do anything to it. So going from an F body to a G8, walking apart, super easy. Love these cars. 10 out of 10. Recommend more people get them. But I'm kind of glad they're not that common. Michael Payne asked, reliable sources to order. If you can find like a Facebook page for like a junkyard in Australia and shoot them a message and they'll probably ship it to you. I'm sure you don't pay for it, like I had to pay for it, but everything else, like the 5th gen Camaro stuff, everything else can be ordered through TIG, through Car ID, everything like that. It's super simple, because everything besides like the shifter, you can get a shift like the 5th gen Camaro. I cannot speak on this, but the shifter from the 5th gen Camaro should work as well. So if you can't find one from a Commodore, grab one for a 5th gen Camaro and try it. Because I have one over there and it's identical, besides the plate. So all you'll need to find is the plate. You can probably machine the plate, you can probably make it your own, but the shifters from the 5th gen Camaro should work. But don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure on that. So once I get once I'm able to drive this, I cut my old MagnaFlow exhaust off. It's 2.5 inches. I'm gonna be custom making a 3-inch exhaust. I'm gonna make it so it's long enough so it goes past the trans and it goes into an X pipe, and then it goes back to back here. Just so if I have to ever do anything to the transmission, you can easily source it. On the transmission, there is cooler lines. I just blocked mine off. I don't need it right now. Blocked them off. I have AN lines ready for a cooler. I just gotta get a cooler. I didn't feel like that was very important to do at this time in current. I'm going to hook them up. So all I did was just took the fittings out before I put fluid in it and blocked them all, and then put them back in, and it hasn't given me an issue since.